I had an art teacher when I was in elementary school who made such an impression on me that I'll never forget her. I decided I'll always mention her whenever I can. She seemed to take many opportunities to point out that I was not very good at art, insisting that my cutouts were sloppy, my glue game was awful, and let's not talk about coloring, painting. She never once asked or considered why. She never made an attempt to help me improve. I wasn't blind at the time, but I did have real trouble seeing the lines. I literally couldn't color within them. It wasn't until late college that I realized I not only couldn't see myself as a creative, artful person, but I couldn't believe anyone who said otherwise. Then I met Professor Wilson, who also singled me out in class, this time using my essays as an example of thoughtful, creative writing. I remember thinking, he must be confusing the papers. He's saying my name, but he's probably referring to somebody else. Teachers make a big difference, y'all. That elementary teacher, she didn't care about me. She just cared about staying within the lines. Professor Wilson recognized something in me that unfortunately took a long time for me to see and believe in myself. Did I mention teachers make a difference, y'all? My name is Thomas Reed. I'm the host and producer of this here podcast. I'm bringing you a bit of a PSA. Be mindful of who you choose as your teacher. They may not be worthy of you. Let's go. Read.
My mind.
Read.
My mind.
I am very excited to be here. My name is Maria José García Vizcaíno. I'm from Spain. I am professor at Montclair State University in the Department of Spanish and Latino Studies. I teach audiovisual translation and audio description in Spanish and in English. I am a middle-aged woman, brown curly hair with glasses.
How did you get into audio description?
My three siblings in Spain, in Madrid, they work for the ONCE, which is the National Blind Organization. One of my siblings is legally blind. So I have many friends and acquaintances who are visually impaired. And I was aware of audio description, but not so much until, let's say, 10 years ago. And I became really interested in the field and how to incorporate that to my teaching, because I teach language, and that's a perfect linguistic application right there, among other things. So I decided to get more information and more training on audio description.
That began with the ACB Audio Description Project training class. Then she started consuming her content with description when available, and even found ways of incorporating the practice in a course she taught on audio-video translation and subtitling. All of this led to her first class dedicated to audio description in both Spanish and English, held this spring semester 2022.
We are using the visual made verbal by Joyle Snyder and More Than Meets the Eye, What Blindness Can Bring to Art by Georgina Click. We want to have a combination of the more standard rules of the description and also the more creative, subjective way. The class is divided in three groups of students who are working in three different fields. I have students who are working in audio description for the theater and for live performances. I have another group of students who are working in art museums. And I have another group of students who are doing short films.
Already, this class distinguishes itself from other AD trainings, which are often very specialized. Teaching the course in a university setting over several months really allows for an immersive experience. Students choose their focus from the areas of concentration: theater, music, and film. They're then grouped into teams and work on real-world projects. Plus, Maria José is combining the creative with the compliance, so you know she has my attention. For more on what those differences mean, make sure you check out the episode early in this season titled Audio Description in the Making.
The group that is working with the audio description for the theater, we just had our play in the Repertorio Español, which is a off-Broadway theater in New York City. They show plays only in Spanish, And this is a partnership that we started in 2019. This is our third play with audio description in Spanish for them. It was on Saturday, April the 30th. It was a group of 8 students. They did everything. They prepared a pre-show tactile experience, which was wonderful. One of the students, Richard Solis, he made a replica of the stage with all the furniture stick to the floor so that the blind people could touch them without moving them. So he replicated everything.
We're talking about the full set design, down to the roses in a vase, which play a symbolic role in the play. Notice this tactile pre-show component is considered part of the full audio description experience.
The students also, of course, prepare the script, and I supervise them. We have multiple meetings, many hours of rehearsal with the script, because of course this is a live performance. We needed to prepare in advance. So we had a video of the play that could give us an idea of the spaces that we have in between dialogues to describe. One of the students, Abigail Fania, she was the voice-over talent, and she was in the booth with another student, Gabriela Rincon, who helped her. They did a fantastic job. This is a live performance. So they had to improvise some things and omit others and add some information that they didn't prepare in advance because they didn't know that from the video.
Y la boca abierta. Alrededor hay 2 hombres de traje oscuro, uno con una túnica sacerdotal y 2 mujeres. El brazo derecho. Se miran de cerca y se agarran de las manos. Caminan serios hacia adelante. Filomena a la izquierda.
Following the performance, there was a Q&A, which included the theater's executive director, Rafael Sanchez, the play's director, Lema Lopez, and the entire cast.
So he's saying that this is something that should happen in all the theaters, doesn't matter off-Broadway or Broadway, in New York, in Spanish and in English.
While the Q&A is important to gain real feedback in order to continuously improve, it can prove to do even more for relationship building.
For example, people from the cast, after the Q&A, they were interacting with us, with the students, asking questions. Then we went for drinks with them. Right next to the theater, there is a bar. So we continued the conversation there. And it was fantastic, the vibration, the energy that was between students, sighted people, non-sighted people, the cast, the director. It was amazing. And one of the actresses was so impressed that she came to campus yesterday.
It's worth noting that the full class is about 20 people. Again, they're not all working on the same projects. Therefore, each group is responsible for presenting their projects to the full class.
The challenges, the difficulties of the project, and how they solve it. So this actress, Sandra Gumifio, she came to campus. She was one of the actresses in the play. Her feedback, her comments, and her presence there yesterday was amazing. It was very nice to have her because it's like the two ends of the process. The creative people doing the play, and then the creative people doing the audio description together.
The students working on describing the play dedicate a significant amount of time to the project. Travel to NYC alone can be an undertaking. Maria Jose has options for those who perhaps have tighter schedules.
It's up to the students. So people who didn't want to go to New York, wanted to work at home, it's very easy to work with short films. So I propose a collection of short films in Spanish and English, and they can choose. Some of my students are working in one for children in Spanish. Another one is working with Banco de Santander, one of the short films that they have done to promote a banking campaign, which is a science fiction film, actually. Another is doing a short film, which is a brand film for a brand, Larios, which is a gin, like a drink. So it's more like advertising. So there are different types of short films, all of them from 10 to 15 minutes.
The second area of focus students can choose is museums.
The museum, it's a recent partnership that we have done with the Montclair Art Museum. So we have 3 students working with the art gallery in the university, and we have 2 students working with the Montclair Art Museum in 2 different projects. The 2 students who are in the Montclair Art Museum are doing something that is pretty cool, very, very, very difficult. It's a 30-minute video, only visuals.
The video consists of abstract images, family photos, sound design, and music, but absolutely no dialogue.
So the audio description has to be made in a very particular way. because you don't want to interfere with the sound too much. This is not at all like the other group of people who are doing museum in the art gallery. They are describing representational paintings of people and landscapes. I encouraged the two students who are doing this, Michelle Roblero Moreno and Tetsuo Hiromitsu, to be creative, to be led and be guided by the emotions they experience when they are watching and listening to the video. There are parts of the video which are very scary and there is tension. And there are parts that are playful and whimsical and joyful, but some parts are like ominous, and it scares you sometimes to hear those sounds. So I encourage them to create and to mimic those visual effects with their voices.
The screen turns grainy. At the shore of the lake, the girl is walking.
In a mirror fashion.
In water, a strip of light cuts through the center.
Then, twirls of bubbles flow from the side, and a warm orange fish-like tail emerges from the center.
The camera keeps going forward. The forest merges.
Another group of students worked with the university's George Segal Gallery to provide description for a series of paintings by artist Ujamu Koho titled Black Wall Street, A Case for Reparations. The paintings honor the memory of the black men, women, and children from the thriving Greenwood neighborhood in Tulsa, Oklahoma, murdered in 1921 by white terrorists during what's considered one of this country's largest racially motivated massacres. I mean, if you're not including slavery, the Middle Passage, the genocide of Native Americans, y'all get the picture, right? The paintings were inspired by Olivia Hooker, a Greenwood survivor Koho was able to interview before she died in 2018 at 103 years old. For these series of paintings, Koho called on black professionals from his Brooklyn neighborhood to represent the people of Tulsa. He designed the sets and wardrobe, paying homage to a reimagined past where this black, independent community thrived.
3 of my class students are doing 9 paintings, and other paintings are going to be done by students in the Disabilities Studies program in the Department of Anthropology, under the supervision of Dr. Elaine Gerber, who is also a colleague of mine and very involved in the description movement and practice. And of course, the historical context, which is the main objective of the exhibition, to raise awareness and to let people know what happened. This is the title of the exhibition, is Black Wall Street, A Case for Reparations.
Students even had the opportunity to hear directly from the artist.
We met him 2 weeks ago in the closing ceremony. We introduced him to my students and he was so thrilled. And we were asking him questions about what would you prefer to say, because we are gonna be providing 2 or 3 minutes only. So you have to be very selective. And there is so much that you can say about these paintings. He said you have to mention the historical context and you have to mention what happened. And I remember some of the paintings have like a smoke underneath, and you have to mention the smoke because it makes an allusion to the bombs and the massacre. He introduced us to the models who were there in the closing ceremony, the models of the paintings. It was amazing.
This is all within a semester.
Totally. I mean, I am so overwhelmed. And I think it's because of that, like so many things going on, so many connections. For the students, it's like a mind-blowing experience because they are meeting so many people from different fields, music, art, theater. And then it's an opportunity for them for future career paths and future job opportunities at the same time.
This is not the type of class that an instructor can just show up and repeat the same lecture year after year. A big part of the class not only encourages, but originates with relationships.
Well, the short films are not my connections. The short films are short films that I found interesting because they are very visual and they would be good for audio description. For example, the theater, yes. The theater was a partnership that we created in 2019 with the Repertorio Español, and I sent an email to the director. He was the artistic director, Rafael Sanchez, and now he's the executive director. You have all your plays in Spanish with no audio description. We want to make this closer to the Spanish-speaking blind community in New York. We can collaborate.
The opportunities for collaborating are often within reach, starting with the areas that are of interest to you. For Maria Jose, that's her love of art.
I started my training as a docent 5-6 months ago. From the very beginning, I said that my interest was to trained other docents in audio description for the museum. They were totally on board from the very beginning. They didn't have any experience at all with audio description. In March, I had my first tour as a docent with a group of blind people from the Vision Loss Alliance in New Jersey. They are very active with cultural events. So a group of 12, 15 visually impaired visitors came to the museum, and we had an exhibition, we had an explanation, audio description, more like in Georgina Click's approach of interactive audio description, participatory audio description, not the typical, like the docent gives the speech and all the visually impaired people are listening in silence. No, this was a conversation.
Is that something that you plan to do periodically?
I would love to. Maybe it's not something that I can do like every month or something like that, but at least once or twice per semester.
I need to know about this. You're not that far from me. Read My Mind Radio road trip? What do you think, family? That could be an amazing episode. I mean, sharing is caring, right?
I try always to involve my students. For example, when the Vision Loss Alliance, they came for the tour, every single time I'm doing all these little things, I always share them with my class. Sometimes nobody comes, sometimes 2 or 3 people, I always invite them.
La Professora. Well, she too sees the value in road trips.
There is a movie theater in Montclair that I am part of the disability committee. They have everything with audio description, and they're very good with the equipment, very new. A couple of times this semester, after the class, we have gone to the movies as a group. And I said to the manager, listen, Mark, we're going to be tonight, or we're going to next week. Do you have 20 equipments? Because sometimes they don't have 20. So he said, yes, Maria Jose, give me a couple of days. I can bring them from another movie theater or whatever. So they have the equipment prepared so that they know that we are coming. And we'll listen to the movie with the audio description. And then we had dinner after the movie theater, and we comment from the quality control point of view. Do you think this option was right, was wrong, why? So this course is very applied. We have fun.
In addition to the road trips, Maria Jose invites guest lecturers with real and diverse practical experience, adding even more value.
Nefertiti Matos Olivares, that you know her, she came to the university, gave a wonderful lecture followed by a workshop. I met her from the first play that we did with the Repertorio Español in 2019. I met her there when she was working for the New York Public Library. Thanks to Nefertiti, we could have all the programs in Braille for the play. And she also made that possible in this one last Saturday.
Not surprising when you know of Nefertiti's commitment to access to the arts and Braille literacy in general. If you haven't yet checked out her episode earlier this season, let me tell you right now, I highly recommend it.
She talked about the process of writing a script and doing the voiceover, doing that by blind people. That is something that Dr. Romero Fresco from the Universidad of Vigo in Spain, he advocates for. People with disabilities, it doesn't matter, closed captioning, audio description, they should be involved in the process, creating the audio description, creating the captions. Nefertiti talks about that.
And it just so happens that Maria Jose has a blind student in her class.
And what a coincidence. Her last name is Matos. She is from Dominican Republic as well, but they are not related. My student could relate to what Nefertiti was talking about, being blind and being immersed in the process from the very beginning, creating the accessibility. And she was talking about the challenges of doing this and how she solved them. Then this lecture was followed by a workshop where students in groups of 4 or 5 people, Nefertiti suggested to have 4 people doing the 4 roles of the audio description: the writing of the script, the voiceover, the quality control, and the editing and sound engineering. So we put groups of 4 people, and they had to do the first 30 seconds of trailer of the last movie of Star Wars. Some of them did it in Spanish, some of them did it in English. After half an hour, Nefertiti was going around giving feedback. And after that, we compared the versions, and you have the Spanish from Spain, Spanish from Mexico, Spanish from Argentina. To compare. In my class, I have students from all different Spanish-speaking countries. That was very interesting. We had a great time with Nefertiti. We learned so much.
This is a 400-level course available to juniors, seniors, and graduate students in Montclair University in New Jersey. So far, we see several benefits of learning AD in this environment. Not only can it be fun with the right professora, but there's attention paid to all of the skills involved in assuring quality audio description.
The set of skills are diverse. So you know that they are the part of the writing the script, editing, quality control, voiceover. In the case of the theater, tactile experience, reaching out to the community, publicizing the event, interacting with people in the theater, explaining to them how the equipment works. Some of the students in the group, they are very good with people. They are good at greeting people when they come to the theater, explaining to them the audio description equipment. Some of them are very shy, they don't want to be involved. They are very good at writing, quality control. I can place them in roles that they feel comfortable and that they are going to excel in those roles. But not everybody can do the same things.
What if everyone not only brought their own set of skills to the table, but they also brought that love?
Someone said once that if you really love what you do, you will not work one single day of your life. And I totally agree with that.
What is it about audio description that you love?
I think it's many things. The observational skills part, it makes or forces me to pay attention to details and be more observant. The second thing that I love is the selective thinking in lexical choices. What verb are you going to use? What adjective or what adverb is going to give you in a very short time the image that you exactly want to convey? Linguistic aspect. It's like crafting the language.
Maria Jose uses AD as a learning tool in her early level Spanish classes as well.
I play movies in Spanish with the description in Spanish, and I pass surveys to them, and I ask them if they understood the movie better with the audio description, and why and what aspects. And most of the answers are yes. I didn't know that this verb could be used for this action, or I understood it better because it made me aware of things that I would go unnoticed. So Spanish language is improved through the audio description. That's a pedagogical application of the audio description to improve a second language.
Recognizing the opportunities that real-world interactions present, Maria Jose makes certain to survey audience members. Feedback received during the live theater performance at the theater company in NYC adds to what many of us already know. AD has benefits that go beyond informing those who are blind or have low vision. From enabling multitasking to helping some recognize the significance of gestures or facial expressions, some of Maria Jose's research is examining what we can learn about cultural differences.
Why, if you see a character in the movie smoking a cigarette, in the Spanish audio description, they don't say anything. In the English audio description, they say he's smoking a cigarette. So different characterizations depending on different cultures, because maybe in Spain, everybody smokes. So it's not such a relevant trait in that moment.
This research for an article she wrote titled Getting the Full Picture in English and Spanish, where she examined the audio-described characters in Netflix's Elite.
I was doing a comparison between English and Spanish audio description. If different cultures are going to emphasize or highlight aspects of a character, certain physical traits that in another language they wouldn't emphasize. It interested me from someone who is always paying attention to Spanish and English nuances of the language.
This made me curious about the differences in Spanish dialects spoken throughout Latin America, the Caribbean, and Spain.
For example, in the play, one of the main characters, he's wearing a jacket. This play is based in the Caribbean. They would say saco. And to Spanish people from Spain, saco is another thing. But we wanted to be in accordance with the character. So if the character says saco, we're going to say saco too. But of course, if there is someone in the audience from Spain, out of the context, you're going to infer that that's a chaqueta, that's a jacket.
It's another example of cultural competence at that point.
Exactly.
Wow. Look where we ended up. I didn't even plan that. It just proves what I will continue to shout. Audio description is about much more than entertainment. When La Professora is not teaching the art of audio description or any of her other classes for that matter, she's making her own art.
I discovered plein air painting 5-6 years ago to a painting retreat, but outdoors, what they call plein air, which is what the Impressionist painters did. They painted outside to be able to capture the light in a fast way. So you have to paint very fast because the lights that you have now, you're not going to have in 15 minutes. I completely got in love with the technique. You have to paint really fast to capture a moment. You paint landscape, you paint what you see. So I think it has to do with audio description as well.
Now, after you're done painting, do you provide an image description for your painting?
Maybe when I have my first exhibition, I will have everything audio described in English and Spanish, of course.
That's right. Audio description on everything in every language, because blind people are everywhere and we deserve access. If you want to learn more about this immersive and applied course in audio description in Spanish and English, or maybe get in touch with Maria Jose, start with the Montclair State University website at montclair.edu.
And within that, you can go to the Department of Spanish. Spanish and Latino Studies have their own YouTube channel, YouTube and Spanish and Latino Studies.
I'll have links on this episode's blog post. Plus, if you're on Instagram,
my name is Garcia Vizcama. Garcia is Garcia, V as in Victor, I, Z as in zebra, C as in Charlie, A, M like Maria.
Well, let me tell you something, Professora. I want to let you know that you are an official member of the Read My Mind radio family because you were so kind enough to come over here and talk about your amazing class. Personally, I think you should be teaching audio description to everybody. On the day of our interview, Maria Jose was feeling a bit under the weather. She was worried about coughing on the microphone. By the time we were done, I noticed she never once coughed.
I was thinking about that. My cold suddenly disappeared.
See, that's Read My Mind radio. We take care of colds too. Okay, maybe that's going a bit too far. Read My Mind radio cannot heal people in any way. But let's take a look at what we did cover this season in flipping the script on audio description. We went into the lab, specifically the Access in the Making Lab, where we examined this idea of creative audio description versus compliance. Spoiler alert, it doesn't have to be any sort of competition. They really can work together. If there's one thing you can count on from flipping the script, and quite honestly, Read My Mind radio in general, we 100%, without no doubt, support and encourage the participation of blind people in all aspects of audio description. That's why I knew I had to get our sister, Nefertiti Matos Olivares, on the podcast. A must listen for any blind person truly interested in getting into AD in any capacity. She's dropping game if you're listening. Always interested in expanding the AD conversation, we reached out to actor, writer, designer, podcaster Natalie Trevon to discuss access to fashion via audio description and more. And wrapping it up with a bright red bow, La Professora, Maria Jose Garcia Vizcaíno, actually combining the creative and compliance approach, plus making sure it's done with love. The season actually kicked off with an editorial from yours truly, once again sparked by the lack of culturally appropriate casting of AD narrators still taking place in audio description. I mentioned I was drafting a pledge for all of those who see audio description as a microcosm of the world we profess to want. A world that recognizes all of our beauty and strength without putting one group over the other. Perhaps this is the right time to take the pledge. I'm asking you, listener, transcript reader, audio description consumer, professional, benefactor, all of us who really want to flip the script on audio description. Head on over to https://bit.ly/AD pledge, where the A, the D, and the P are capitalized, no spaces. Or drop in at readmymind.com and I'll link you to the pledge. Add your name to the list and make sure you confirm your name being added by clicking on the link in the resulting email. If you don't see the email, check your spam folder. As I used to tell my daughter as I tried cooking something for the first time, baby girl, I don't know how this is gonna turn out, but we're gonna try it anyway. I wanna send a special shout out to my man, Tony Swartz, for his help with editing this episode once again. I appreciate you, sir. Salutes. This is the last episode of the season, and I hope to be back in September, but man, a brother's starting to feel like he needs a break. Maybe I'll head out to a beach somewhere and sip on a Mai Tai while I lounge in my shorts and chancletas. In the meantime, if you haven't yet subscribed to the podcast, I'd appreciate you going over to wherever you get your podcast, including YouTube, and subscribe or follow us. You can get transcripts and more over at readmymind.com. To get there, it's mandatory that you spell it right. That's R to the E. I.
D, and that's me in a place to be.
Like my last name.
Answer phone. iPhone. Decline.
What?
Button. Answer call. Button.
Oh, snap.
Answer call. Button.
Hello? I guess I have to tell you about that one next time. Peace.